Arthur Morgan's relationship with Anthony Foreman isn't a relationship built on familiarity or long history. It's built on moral collision. Anthony Foreman represents one of the ugliest forces in Red Dead Redemption 2's world, and Arthur's interactions with him reveal exactly where Arthur's line is drawn when it comes to cruelty, power, and exploitation. Foreman is the leader of the Foreman brothers, a brutal gang that terrorizes Lemoyne, and unlike many outlaws in the game, his violence isn't framed as survival or desperation. It's predatory. He targets vulnerable people, particularly black men and women, and treats them as property. Arthur recognizes that immediately. Arthur first becomes truly aware of Anthony Foreman through Tilly Jackson's past. Tilly escaped the Foreman brothers before joining the Van der Linde gang, and her trauma is deeply tied to Foreman himself. Arthur listens when Tilly talks about what they did to her. The abuse, the control, the way Foreman treated people like objects to be owned or punished. Arthur doesn't dismiss it or joke it away. He internalizes it. By this point in the story, Arthur has committed plenty of violence himself, but Foreman's brand of cruelty stands apart because it's rooted in domination, not survival. When Foreman re-enters the story, it's not subtle. He and his men capture Tilly and use her as leverage, sending word to the gang. This is where Arthur's response defines his character. There's no hesitation, no debate, no weighing of risks. Arthur rides out to confront Foreman directly, even if it means going alone. This isn't about the gang's interests or Dutch's plans, it's personal. Arthur is no longer acting as an outlaw following orders. He's acting as a protector. The confrontation itself is telling. Anthony Foreman tries to assert power through threats and intimidation, acting as though Arthur is just another man he can manipulate. He underestimates Arthur completely. Arthur doesn't engage in a long argument or speech. He sees Foreman for what he is, a man who uses fear and violence to control others. And Arthur refuses to let that continue. When Arthur kills Foreman, it isn't done with flair or celebration. It's swift, decisive, and final. There's a sense that Arthur believes some people don't deserve mercy because they would only use it to hurt others. What makes this moment so important is what comes afterward. Arthur doesn't dwell on the kill. He doesn't boast. He immediately focuses on Tilly, making sure she's safe and reassuring her that Foreman can never hurt her again. That priority says everything. Anthony Foreman exists in Arthur's story not as a rival outlaw, but as a moral test, and Arthur passes it without question. This encounter also reflects Arthur's growth. Earlier in the game, Arthur might have written someone like Foreman off as just another outlaw. By this point, especially as Arthur becomes more reflective about his life and his impact on others, he clearly understands that not all violence is equal. There's a difference between people trapped in a cruel world and people who actively make that world crueler. Anthony Foreman is firmly in the second category. Arthur's relationship with Foreman ends the moment it truly begins, but that's the point. Foreman doesn't get a redemption arc or a tragic backstory because he doesn't need one.